Our next guest is an artist, a culture jammer, and co-founder of the Cacophony Society. Oh, you guys don't even know what I'm going to say yet. He also co-founded this little thing that happens in the desert every year called Burning Man. Basically, his life is cooler than all of us put together. Please welcome John Law.
I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won.
Hi, John.
Hey, Stuart. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. So, there's a lot of cool things about John, but possibly the coolest at this moment is that the Oakland Tribune building, in Oakland?
Big one with the neon clock.
He works in the clock tower behind the clock.
That's right. Back there where we make time.
There's so much time travel on this show.
Thanks for that intro, too. I just wanted to mention that my old friend Bishop Joey of the First Church of the Last Laugh once called me the most interesting man in the parking lot. I didn't know that was an insult or a compliment, but anyway.
That's a lot when there's no parking lot here. So, what the hell is a suicide club, and how is there anyone left to talk about it?
Well, the Suicide Club, we didn't actually kill ourselves. It was a group that was based on a story by Robert Louis Stevenson called The Suicide Club, about a group of men put their worldly affairs in order to live each day as though it were their last. And that group was, anyone could join it, but once you were in, it was a secret society. We didn't advertise, we didn't talk about it. It was an urban exploration, urban adventures group, pranks group. We would do things like get naked on the cable car, which was a very frightening thing to me because I was raised middle class and you're not supposed to get naked in public. But it was an illuminating moment because I found that you could just do something like that. We were pretty well known for climbing, urban climbing. We climbed the Golden Gate Bridge. I personally lost track of climbing it at number 100, which was in 1982. Climbed it until 96. We did events in abandoned buildings. There were a lot of abandoned buildings back then. You wouldn't recognize the town back then. It was basically a wasteland of amazing, wonderful, beautiful abandoned places. Artists could live here for nothing and do things like that. So the Suicide Club was a way to challenge your fears with a group of people. Anybody could list an event. Anybody that was in the group could go on it. A couple things that came out of it: the Dashiell Hammett walking tour, which is the longest lived literary walking tour in the nation and possibly the world, based on the writings of Dashiell Hammett, with many of which were set here in San Francisco. The Maltese Falcon you may have heard of. The Chinese New Year's treasure hunt, which happens every year, started as a Suicide Club event. It's a very different event now. Chuck Palahniuk, who wrote the novel Fight Club, was a Portland Cacophony member, which is a group that came after the Suicide Club. That grew out of the Suicide Club, and a bunch of weird things I was very fortunate to be involved in.
I think you just answered all my questions for the night. Thank you.
Wind me up, brother.
I actually had lunch with John recently, and I look up to him. I adore him. I think he's a wonderful person, and he's a fucking vast amount of local history and underground culture history. He's a legend. So here's my question. You've had your hand in creating lots of cultural phenomenon. Burning Man, SantaCon, Billboard Liberation Front.
Sorry about SantaCon. Okay. It was a little different back in 94.
I believe you. And urban exploration. After all those things, what's next? Maybe your own line of barbecue sauce?
What's next? Well, it's funny because when I first showed up in San Francisco, it was 1976. I was 17. I hitchhiked here from Tennessee, skipped juvenile probation, ran away from home. I was sleeping in Golden Gate Park, panhandling on Market Street, true story. And I was ready to go because I knew San Francisco was a place where stuff happened, right? So I'm down on Haight Street, and I'm looking for the party. And there's all these scraggly-looking hippies, and they're like, dude, you missed the party. It was in, it was like 8 years ago. You completely missed it. You should go back to Tennessee. And I'm like, fuck you guys. And I haven't been able to really take hippies seriously since then. But within a year, the punk scene started. Within a year, I stumbled into this group called the Suicide Club and was doing the most amazing things in the world. And kids come to me now and they're like, oh man, it must have been great back in the day. You guys were doing all this stuff back in the day, early Burning Man. And the 8,000 people that were at the first Burning Man that, are talking about having been at the first Burning Man. And I'm like, yeah, back in the day was great. It was really great. But, right now is where the shit's happening and where the stuff is happening. You're here, you're young, do something, and there's stuff happening. It's underground. There's underground stuff going on. I can't talk about it. I don't know about most of it, but I know about some of it. And it's out there, and it's happening right now. And so kids coming here, harder to live here in some ways, but it's not impossible. And you just got to take BART over and then, hitchhike back. When you're done.
Hitchhike back with your scuba gear because BART ends at midnight. Given you guys started the Suicide Club around the 70s, right?
77, that's right.
Did Ken Casey or any of the Merry Pranksters get involved with any of your stuff? Was there any crossover?
No, not at that time. There's a lot of crossover with any history, and I could bloviate about history for hours and hours and hours. You'd all fall asleep. But any history, like when I was 18, I thought we invented all this shit. Okay, that we were doing. I thought we invented. Oh my God, nobody's ever climbed the Golden Gate Bridge before, except for the 10,000 guys that have worked on it. Like the 570 people at that point of time that committed suicide. Nobody's ever done street theater. We were really bad at street theater. We were terrible at it. Okay, but we did it because it was something that frightened us. Okay, and I thought we were inventing this stuff, right? And I'm around for a while. I read some stuff. People tell me some stuff. I see some movies, and I realize we're part of a long, incredible history of this stuff going on, and it's out there happening all over the world, really. And we have the ability to do it. So I don't know. That was my take on it. That's my take on it now, this advanced age.
So tell me about your wiener. Oh, sorry. Wait a
second. That's for the next.
Your wieners. Tell me about your wieners. I think you've got 3 of them.
Doggy diners. Does anybody know what a doggy diner is out there, or is this like a? All right. Well, these giant, 10-foot tall, fiberglass dog heads that once adorned a local restaurant chain called Doggy Diner. They're about 30 stories at the height. And they're stunning. They have bow ties and chef's hats, and they have this really enigmatic grin, somewhat like the Mona Lisa, right? And you look at them, you don't know if they just ate somebody, if they're smiling, are they happy, are they, what are they psychotic? But there are 3 of them that I was able to acquire over the years. And they're like local icons, and they're so bizarre that even people who don't know them and didn't grow up here, they see them. I keep them on a trailer, and we bring them around to events that we like, charitable events. We don't charge money for bringing them around, bring them to parades and public events for free. And they're just this bizarre touchstone historically for people who grew up here locally, and also this strange surrealist touchstone for people who didn't grow up around here. Bill Griffith's Zippy the Pinhead, I don't know if you know that cartoon or not. And Tom Tomorrow, who does, Tom Tomorrow cartoon, Dan Perkins. They both have used the Doggy Diners as a character in their cartoons for decades now. So they're these strange things, and it's like I kind of inherited them almost in an odd way. And so I'm now compelled to bring them around. It's actually not a weird obligation, social obligation. But you'll see them driving around.
You're like, yeah, I'll totally come to your party. Is there parking for my dog heads?
I've parked them all over the city. I've never gotten a ticket ever. I parked them in bus zones. I've parked them in front of fire hydrants. I've double parked them for hours and hours with the flashers on, because all of the meter maids grew up in the neighborhoods here, and they went to Doggy Diner when they were a kid. And they fucking know if they ticket the Doggy Diner, they're going straight to hell. So there's no way.
And watch what you say, because now all the Google buses are going to have Doggy Diner heads on them.
No comment on that one. Do no evil, right?
Don't even get me started. So you touched on this a little bit before, but given what you've done and where you came from and where San Francisco is now, talking about Google buses, how do you feel San Francisco is now, and can it be saved? And does it need to be saved?
Can it be saved from what? I mean, it's
from itself.
A lot of my friends have had to move. It's true. I've been here for 38 years. I've been here a long time. And I've lived in East Bay, I've lived in Emeryville and Oakland, but most of the time I've lived in San Francisco. And so many people I know, we've noted, artists, and it's hard to live here. It's expensive. But like I said, Oakland's, Oakland's great. Sorry, Stuart.
It is great. I actually love Oakland.
And, and a lot of the kids coming here, I'm part owner of Laughing Squid, which is an internet blog and a web hosting service. And I don't know what the fuck I have no idea how any of it works. Scott Beal does all of that stuff. But it's a pretty cool thing, and the blog is fun. And I know a lot of people who do internet stuff. And these kids, they're making 80 to 150K or whatever they're making. But, that's like making 30 grand was here in the 70s, if that. So, and they're all living like 10 to an apartment, or whatever, living in their little new, e-communes or whatever they call them. And, so they're kids, they're making good money. It's not going to last, so save some of it, because it's really not going to last. But I got nothing against them. They're doing stuff. They live in their world. They're creating and doing cool stuff. I know a little bit about some of it.
If I make 100K and live 10 to apartment, I will fucking kill myself. Like, it's just over. I'm like, I don't know. I just don't know anymore.
Yeah, it's pretty bad for some people. It's tough, but like I say, Oakland's there, and Oakland's not that bad, and you can take the bus over.
I've heard of Oakland.
Right, that's right. Valerie in the back was saying, "Don't go to Oakland." Okay, don't go to Oakland. Sorry.
All right, Oakland. Woo! Woo!
Okay.
All right, so I don't want to ask about Burning Man because I know you're not associated with the festival anymore. But what I want to ask is, can you get me tickets?
No, they hate my guts. Are you kidding?
I'm playing. And I know you have a book that just came out.
I do have a book. Here it is, right here. It's called Tales of the San Francisco Cacophony Society. There's 2 of them over there and 3 of them here, one here. So if anybody wants to buy one, they're $30. I've also got a movie. We made a doggy diner movie called Head Trip. I got a few of those over there. You can have one of those for $5. This book, the reason you can tell that it is a dangerous book, because there's a lot of dangerous ideas in it. Okay, but the reason you can tell it's a really dangerous book is because you could kill somebody with it. Sorry about that, Stuart. That's how you can tell it's a dangerous book. 4 pounds, which is why I only carry 3 of them to gigs.
I don't count so well, so I don't know. So we brought up Burning Man for a second. Why don't you go to Burning Man anymore? Can we talk about that?
Yeah, I don't give a shit.
All right. ¿Por qué no? ¿Por qué no?
Yeah, Burning Man's a great event. I would say if you haven't been to it, you should go. I mean, I haven't been in many years. It was a very different event when it was a smaller event on the playa. There were 75 people the first year that we went out there. Half of the people drove in a caravan. We stopped at Bruno's for breakfast at dawn. 30 people. We were freaks. We had some of the trucks had gun racks in the trucks because the early event was a gun-friendly event. And that's one of the only reasons that they allowed us to stay out there, and that's the simple truth. So we're at Bruno's, we drive out in the playa, and then we draw a line on the dirt, which is an old Cacophony Society zone trip trick that we would do. And actually, my co-author, Carrie Galbraith, came up with the zone trip. We did the first zone trip was to L.A., the second one was to L.A., the third one was to Burning Man, go figure. But you draw a line in the dirt on the playa, and then we went into the zone, and that was the first Burning Man out on the desert. Great, it was like crossing into a different reality, really. And Carrie and my co-author Kevin, who was a fellow who came up with the idea for going to the Black Rock Desert originally, because we were doing Burning Man on Baker Beach. We got shut down by the police, and we did it at summer solstice. And Kevin Evans says he had been out to the Black Rock Desert as I had been before, and he says, "Why don't we take the thing out to the desert?" Talked to Jerry James and Larry Harvey, who had been doing the beach party. And so we took it out that Labor Day, and that was the first one on the desert. And it was a lot of fun. It was a temporary autonomous zone where you could do anything. There were no rules at all. The burning things weren't quite as big that year.
There's no rules in here right now either, actually. This is a temporary autonomous zone. You guys can do whatever you want. No rules.
Right. So, anyway,
burn things, whatever.
Yeah, it was a hoot. We had fun. We brought together, and the other thing, the thing that I really liked about that event in the early days was I knew San Francisco really well. I knew a bunch of different people in different scenes in San Francisco. I'm very gregarious and travel from scene to scene. And in the city, you couldn't get the ravers to talk to the industrial art, the industrial machine art people who wouldn't talk to the hippies, who wouldn't talk to the to the skinny tie new wave kids. None of them would, they wouldn't talk. Burning Man, you go out there in the early days, and you'd be out there trying to set your tent up, and a big dust storm would come and blow all this shit away. You couldn't be a poser out there. It was impossible. Okay, it was impossible at that time. I know that's odd, to consider it now, but there was no costume. There was no burner costume, and actually, when people started using the term burner, it made me cringe. And now I'm just like, I'm used to it. It's cool. Deadheads, burners, good. It's all good. So.
Burning Man. Well, anyways, as John mentioned, his book is for sale right over there. We have a merch booth. We got a lot of good stuff over there. Thank you so much for being here, John. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Stuart. Thank you so much. All right.